This video might change the way you understand who you are. Imagine for a moment that you woke up tomorrow and discovered that during the night, a single cell in your body had been replaced by a completely new cell. Would you still be you? You'd probably say yes, right? But what if it were 1,000 cells? What if it were 1,000,000? And what if over the course of a few years, every cell in your body was gradually replaced by new cells? At what exact point would you stop being yourself? This seemingly simple question will take you on a fascinating journey that unites ancient philosophy with scientific discoveries that will blow your mind. A journey that challenges everything you think you know about identity, about change, and about the extraordinary potential for transformation that exists within you at this very moment. The answer might completely change how you see your own possibilities for transformation, and wait until you discover what science has revealed about who you really are. More than 2,000 years ago, the ancient Greeks created a story that today finds validation in the most revolutionary discoveries of neuroscience, molecular biology, and quantum physics. It's the story of a ship that carries within it one of humanity's greatest mysteries, a mystery you're living right at this moment. Have you ever had that strange feeling when looking at old photos of yourself, as if you were seeing a completely different person? Or that moment when you wonder, how was I capable of thinking that way a few years ago? There's a precise scientific reason for these feelings, and the data is absolutely surprising. But before revealing why you're not the same person you were a few years ago, let me tell you the story that changed everything and connects ancient philosophy with the most advanced discoveries of modern science. Theseus was a Greek hero who owned a magnificent ship, built with 30 planks of sturdy wood that accompanied him on epic adventures across the seas. Like any vessel exposed to marine elements, the ship began to show inevitable signs of wear. The sea salt slowly corroded the wood, the sun cracked the surfaces, and constant sailing created mechanical wear on the materials. Theseus, being prudent, couldn't allow his ship to deteriorate, so whenever a plank was too worn, he would stop at the next port and replace it with a new one. The process happened gradually, one plank here, another there. Years passed, and plank by plank, every original piece of the ship was replaced. The moment came when not even a single atom of the original vessel remained. All 30 planks had been exchanged for completely new pieces. Here arises the question that connects ancient philosophy with your life. Was this still Theseus's ship? The story becomes even more intriguing when we imagine that someone had collected all those old planks that Theseus discarded at the ports and rebuilt a ship using exclusively the original pieces. Now there are two ships, one with completely new parts, but which maintained continuity, and another made entirely with the original pieces, but rebuilt from scratch. Which of the two would be the real ship of Theseus? And here comes the part that's going to blow your mind. You're living this exact same situation right at this moment. Your body is, literally, a biological ship of Theseus. Prepare yourself for these impressive data that will transform your understanding of yourself. Every second that passes in your body right now, approximately 25 million of your cells die and are replaced by new ones. Think about the magnitude of this number. While you're listening to these words, millions of old cells are being eliminated, and millions of new cells are being born. Your skin cells renew completely every 14 to 21 days, which means the skin you're touching right now didn't exist 3 weeks ago. Your stomach lining is replaced every 3 to 5 days. Your red blood cells last about 120 days, and even your bones, which seem so solid and permanent, replace themselves completely every 7 to 10 years through a process called bone remodeling. Revolutionary studies with special isotopic markers revealed that in approximately 7 years, 98% of the cells in your body will have been replaced by completely new cells. This means you are, in a literal and measurable way, a completely new person from a cellular standpoint. The person you were a decade ago shares less than 2% of physical matter with who you are today. This leads us to a fascinating question that unites science and philosophy. If you change completely every few years, what exactly maintains your identity? What makes you continue being you? By the way, if this content is surprising you so far, hit that like button now. It helps us bring real science to more people. And if you want to receive more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. Now, yes, back to the question. What makes you continue being you? The answer lies in your brain, and what scientists have discovered will change your perspective on change forever. Researchers using the most advanced neuroimaging techniques made a fascinating discovery. Although your individual neurons may die and be replaced over time, the networks of connections between them maintain complex structures that preserve who you are. These connections form specific patterns that store your memories, your personality, your habits, and your unique way of processing the world. It's as if your brain were an extraordinarily complex symphony, where the individual notes constantly change, but the melody persists and evolves. Your identity isn't stored in individual physical components, but in the dynamic organization between them. Neuroscientists have identified specific neural networks that maintain consistent patterns, even when the neurons that compose them are renewed. You are essentially a sophisticated information pattern that maintains itself through the constant exchange of matter and energy with the environment. But here's where it gets really interesting for your practical life, and where modern science reveals possibilities that our ancestors couldn't even imagine. If you understand that your identity is a dynamic pattern maintained through constant change, then you have much more control over your own evolution than you ever imagined. Neuroplasticity, which is the brain's extraordinary capacity to physically remodel itself, has shown results that until just a few years ago seemed like science fiction. Consider these impressive examples that have been documented with scientific precision. When musicians practice intensively, the brain regions responsible for fine finger control literally grow and expand. This has been measured with millimetric precision using the most advanced neuroimaging techniques. Similarly, London taxi drivers, who spend years memorizing the incredibly complex maps of the city, develop a hippocampus, the region responsible for spatial memory that's physically larger than the population average. Their decades of navigating the labyrinthine streets of the city literally remodeled their brain architecture. This isn't a metaphor, it's measurable physical remodeling of your brain. And here comes the part that can revolutionize your life. Your brain was literally designed by evolution for change. Concepts like, "I've always been this way," or "I can't" change completely contradict what we know about how you function. Science has discovered something even more impressive. Your experiences literally alter your genes. Not the DNA sequence, but how they function, a process called epigenetics. Every significant experience, every new learning, every change in perspective rebuilds connections in your brain. You're not just determined by the genetics you inherited, you're constantly rewriting the instructions that define your functioning. Studies with identical twins have shown that, even sharing 100% of DNA, they become very different people based on their experiences. The environment literally sculpts different versions of the same genetic base. This means you have a power you may have never realized. You are simultaneously the scientist and the experiment of your own life. Every day you wake up with the opportunity to apply small experiments in building your personal ship. Intentional practices can literally remodel your brain. Meditation increases the density of areas responsible for emotional regulation. Physical exercise generates new neurons at any age, and learning new skills expands specific brain regions. The question isn't whether you're going to change, that's inevitable. The question is how you can direct this change intentionally. And here's the perspective that integrates everything. Theseus's ship continued sailing throughout the entire renovation process. It didn't stay still in the port trying to solve philosophical questions. It kept fulfilling its function, constantly testing its capacity, adapting to new challenges. Perhaps this is the most powerful lesson. Identity isn't something you discover through introspection, but something you build through experimentation and action. Think about it. If practically all your cells are going to be replaced in the coming years anyway, if your brain is constantly remodeling circuits, if your experiences are modifying how your genes function, why not use these natural processes strategically? The paradox of Theseus's ship, illuminated by modern science, shows us that directed change isn't just possible, but biologically favored. You're not fighting against your nature when you decide to grow and transform. You're collaborating with billions of years of evolution. Being different doesn't mean being less authentic. It means being more aligned with what science reveals about the dynamic nature of human identity. So, the next time you feel resistance to change, remember, this resistance contradicts your own. Biology. You were literally designed for adaptation and growth. Now I want you to stop for a moment and consider, what experiment could you do to test a change you want to implement? What area of your life do you want to remodel, knowing that your brain is waiting for exactly this opportunity? These aren't abstract questions, but opportunities to apply scientific discoveries to accelerate your own development. Because when you combine curiosity with evidence-based action, life becomes a fascinating laboratory of possibilities. If this content has changed your perspective on identity and change, share it with people who would also benefit from this integration between science and personal development. Subscribe to the channel to continue exploring how scientific discoveries can be applied to optimize the human experience. Because knowledge is just the beginning.